Think about the absolute exhaustion you feel right now. Not physical exhaustion, not the kind that is cured by a good night of sleep. Think about the deep, marrow-deep psychological exhaustion that weighs on your chest every single morning. It is the exhaustion of constantly managing the emotions, expectations, and crises of everyone around you. You have spent your entire life operating under a lethal, unwritten contract. You were taught that to be a good person, you must set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You were conditioned to believe that your own needs are secondary, that your boundaries are an inconvenience, and that saying no makes you cruel, arrogant, or selfish. So, you swallow your own voice. You cancel your own plans to help someone who would never do the same for you. You absorb the toxic moods of your family members, your partner, or your coworkers, acting as a human sponge for their unhealed trauma. You play the role of the peacemaker, the savior, the dependable one, the one who never complains. And in return, society calls you selfless. They applaud you. But behind closed doors, in the quiet of your own mind, you are drowning in resentment. You are completely depleted. You look in the mirror and realize you have given away so many pieces of yourself that you no longer recognize the person staring back. You have built a life where everyone else is comfortable, and you are quietly suffocating. What happens if you stop? What happens if you finally, ruthlessly decide to choose yourself above all else? Society will tell you that this is the ultimate sin. They will warn you that you will end up alone, abandoned, and hated. They will use the word selfish like a weapon to force you back into compliance. But what if they are lying? What if choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness, but an act of profound psychological survival? What if it is the only way to build a mind so strong, so unshakable, that you finally become the master of your own destiny? Welcome to Stoic Mindshift. If you are tired of being the sacrificial lamb on the altar of other people's happiness, and if you are finally ready to reclaim the absolute sovereignty of your own life, you are in exactly the right place. We are going to dismantle the toxic illusion of people-pleasing, confront the dark psychology behind your need to save others, and teach you the ancient, brutal art of fortifying your inner citadel. This is the ultimate guide to radical self-ownership. Before we can build the impenetrable architecture of Stoicism, we must violently tear down the lie that is currently running your life. It is the illusion of the martyr. From the time you were a child, the culture around you programmed you with a deeply flawed moral compass. You were implicitly taught that self-sacrifice is the highest form of virtue. The hero is the one who dies for the cause. The good friend is the one who drops everything to listen to you vent at 3 a.m. The good employee is the one who works 60-hour weeks, destroys their health, and never asks for a raise. Society monetizes and relies heavily upon your lack of boundaries. The global economy, toxic family dynamics, and narcissistic individuals all thrive on your willingness to put yourself last. They want you to be pliable. They want you to be a team player. They want you to believe that if you just give a little bit more of your energy, your time, and your sanity, you will eventually be loved, respected, and rewarded. This is a scam. It is an emotional Ponzi scheme. Seneca, the great Stoic statesman, identified this exact sickness 2,000 years ago. In his brilliant essay on the shortness of life, he observed a tragic paradox in human behavior. He wrote, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." If a stranger walked up to you on the street and demanded the keys to your house and your bank account, you would call the police. You would fiercely defend your physical property. Yet, when someone demands your time, your emotional energy, and your peace of mind, The only things you actually possess in this universe, you hand them over without hesitation. You let toxic friends drain your weekends. You let an ungrateful boss hijack your evenings. You let a chaotic partner rent free space in your head 24 hours a day. You do this because the illusion of the martyr tells you that saying no is an act of aggression. But the Stoic realizes the terrifying truth. Every time you say yes out of guilt, obligation, or fear, you are committing an act of violence against yourself. You are draining the finite, non-renewable resource of your own life to water a garden that does not belong to you. To truly stop this destructive cycle, you must understand why you are doing it. It is not because you are an infinitely kind, angelic being. If we want to adopt true Stoicism, we must be brutally honest and merge ancient philosophy with the deep psychology of Carl Jung. We must look at your shadow. Jung taught us that the shadow contains the suppressed, unconscious, and often uncomfortable drivers of our behavior. Why do you chronically put yourself last? Why do you people please? You do it as a trauma response. You do it because deep down in your shadow, you carry a terrifying, unhealed fear of abandonment. The chronic people pleaser operates on a hidden psychological transaction. You are not giving to others freely. You are secretly buying insurance. You are thinking, if I am infinitely useful, if I fix all their problems, if I never rock the boat, and if I make myself indispensable, then they cannot leave me. They will not reject me. You are using self-sacrifice as a manipulation tactic to control how other people view you. You are outsourcing your self-worth to the opinions of the crowd. But what is the inevitable result of this? Jung warned us that whatever we suppress in the shadow will eventually manifest in our lives as fate. When you constantly say yes when you mean no, you do not create love. You create a massive, deep-seated reservoir of resentment. You begin to secretly hate the very people you are trying to help. You become passive-aggressive. You feel like a victim, constantly wondering, after everything I've done for them, why don't they appreciate me? This is where the beginner Stoic must awaken. You are suffering because you are living a lie. You are prioritizing a fabricated good person persona over your own authentic reality. Choosing yourself is not about becoming a narcissist. It is about confronting your shadow. It is the terrifying, courageous act of looking at the people in your life and saying, I will no longer bribe you for your affection. I will no longer destroy my own mental health to keep you comfortable. I will show up as my true self, with hard boundaries, and if you choose to leave because you can no longer use me, then let the door hit you on the way out. When you finally decide to choose yourself, the first thing you will encounter is a massive wave of guilt. Society has installed a psychological alarm system in your brain that rings whenever you prioritize your own needs. To deactivate this alarm, we must look at the exact words of Marcus Aurelius. The Emperor of Rome had the weight of the entire known world on his shoulders. Millions of people depended on him for food, safety, and leadership. If anyone had an excuse to abandon themselves for the sake of others, it was him. Yet, Marcus Aurelius knew a fundamental law of physics. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If the emperor's mind was chaotic, weak, and exhausted, the empire would collapse. Therefore, his absolute first priority, before politics, before wars, and before the demands of the public, was the rigorous cultivation of his own mind. He wrote in his private journal, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions, than your own soul. Retreat to consult your own soul, and then return to face what awaits you." True Stoicism is not about isolating yourself in a cave and ignoring humanity. It is about realizing that your highest duty to the world is to become a strong, unshakable, fully actualized human being. When you people please, you are giving the world a weak, fractured, resentful version of yourself. You are a liability. But when you ruthlessly choose yourself, when you enforce your boundaries, protect your peace, optimize your health, and fortify your mind, you become a pillar of genuine strength. You become the mountain. A mountain does not bend to the wind. It does not apologize for taking up space. It simply stands. And because it stands strong, it provides shelter for others. You cannot be a true asset to your family, your community, or your purpose until you have first secured your own inner citadel. Choosing yourself is the ultimate prerequisite for true, authentic service. You are putting on your own oxygen mask before assisting others. Anyone who demands that you take off your mask so they can breathe a little easier is not someone you should be saving. They are someone you should be escaping. This is the chapter where theory meets brutal reality. The moment you implement this philosophy, the moment you draw a line in the sand and finally choose yourself, chaos will erupt. The people in your life who have benefited from your lack of boundaries will panic. They will not applaud your newfound self-respect. They will attack it. They will call you selfish, cold, arrogant, and changed. They will try to induce guilt. They will say, "What happened to you? You used to be so nice." What they are actually saying is, "You used to be so easy to manipulate, and I am angry that my control over you is gone." This is the ultimate test of the Stoic. To survive this fallout, you must immediately deploy the core weapon of the philosophy, the dichotomy of control. As Epictetus taught us, you must violently divide reality into column A, what you control, and column B, what you do not control. Your decision to set a boundary, your choice to prioritize your mental health, and the calm, respectful way you communicate your no, that is entirely in column A. That is your absolute domain. Their reaction to your boundary, their anger, their gossip, their disappointment, and their accusations of selfishness, that is entirely in column B. It belongs to them. It does not belong to you. Most people fail at this exact juncture. They set a boundary, the other person gets angry, and out of sheer panic and fear of conflict, the people pleaser retracts the boundary and goes back to being a slave. They try to control column B. The Stoic does not flinch. When someone reacts with rage because you chose yourself, the Stoic watches them like a scientist observing an experiment. You realize that their anger is just a chemical reaction happening inside their brain, triggered by their own unhealed shadow. It has absolutely nothing to do with your inherent worth. You must learn to stand in the fire of their disapproval and not burn. Let them be angry. Let them whisper about you. Let them call you selfish. The inner citadel is soundproof. Their words are just vibrations in the air, crashing harmlessly against your stone walls. When you stop taking responsibility for other people's emotional reactions, you experience a level of psychological freedom that most human beings cannot even comprehend. When you strip away the toxic relationships, the energy vampires, and the parasitic obligations, something profound happens. The noise stops, and what replaces it is silence. For the beginner Stoic, this silence is terrifying. When you finally choose yourself above all else, you will inevitably experience a period of intense isolation. The crowd will thin out. The phone will ring less. The weekend calendar will empty. Society views being alone as a tragedy, but the Stoic views it as alchemy. You have been surrounded by people for so long that you have never actually met yourself. You have been drowning in the frequencies of other minds, adapting to their desires, matching their moods, and suppressing your own voice to keep the peace. The isolation you feel right now is not a punishment. It is the vital, mandatory clearing of the canvas. This is where the principle of amor fati, the love of fate, becomes your anchor. You do not mourn the loss of the people who abandoned you when you set boundaries. You love the fact that the trash took itself out. You embrace the empty room. You embrace the quiet. In this silence, you are forced to face your own reflection. Without the distraction of fixing other people's lives, you must finally look at your own. You must ask the hard questions. Who am I when I am not being used by someone else? What do I actually want? What are my genuine values? Loneliness is the pain of being separated from others. Solitude is the glory of being united with yourself. The Stoic masters the art of solitude. He turns the empty room into a forge. He uses the quiet to read, to train, to think, and to build the architecture of his own mind. He realizes that a man who is completely comfortable being alone is the most dangerous, unmanipulatable creature on the planet. Because if you do not fear being alone, nobody can ever threaten you with abandonment. You hold all the cards. When you survive the guilt, when you weather the anger of the crowd, and when you master the silence of your isolation, you will emerge on the other side transformed. You will no longer be the anxious, exhausted, hyper-reactive people-pleaser who is terrified of the world. You will have built the inner citadel. This is what actually happens when you choose yourself above all else. You stop bleeding energy. The massive amounts of psychological power that you used to waste trying to control other people's opinions of you is suddenly returned to your own internal battery. You wake up with focus. You walk with a different posture. You no longer enter a room wondering, do they like me? Are they mad at me? What do I need to do to make them comfortable? Instead, you enter the room as the mountain. You observe the chaos, the drama, and the frantic energy of the people around you, but you do not absorb it. You realize that their crises are their own. You can offer help if it aligns with your values, but you will never again offer yourself as a sacrifice. You become magnetic, not because you are trying to please people, but precisely because you are not. Human beings are instinctively drawn to those who possess unshakable self-respect. When you show the world that you value your own time, your own peace, and your own life above all else, the world has no choice but to respect you. The irony of choosing yourself is that once you stop begging for validation, validation effortlessly follows you. But by then, you are so grounded in your own citadel that you no longer need it. Philosophy without relentless, aggressive execution is completely useless. You cannot read your way out of a lifetime of conditioning. You must train your way out. You must treat this like military conditioning for your mind. Here is the exact, step-by-step protocol to stop abandoning yourself and start enforcing your sovereignty today. 1. The sacred no, the 90-second pause. The next time someone asks you for a favor, an invitation, or a commitment, you are absolutely forbidden from answering immediately. Your conditioned reflex is to say yes to avoid conflict. You must implement a mandatory 90-second pause. Tell them, let me check my schedule and get back to you. Remove yourself from their physical presence. Take the time to step into your logical brain and ask yourself, do I actually want to do this? Or am I operating out of fear, guilt, or the desire to please? If it is not a definitive, enthusiastic yes, it must be a cold, unapologetic no. 2. The morning solitude, claiming the first hour. You cannot choose yourself if you give the first hour of your day to the world. Do not touch your phone. Do not check your emails. Do not look at the news. The first hour of the day belongs exclusively to the architecture of your mind. Use this time to read, to lift heavy weights, to sit in silence, or to write in a journal. you are sending a physical, biological signal to your nervous system that your own development supersedes the demands of the external world. 3. The boundary audit, the evening review. Every night before you sleep, ruthlessly audit your energy. Review your day like a general reviewing a battlefield. Ask yourself, where did I bleed energy today? Who did I allow to bypass my walls and disrupt my peace? Did I agree to something that violated my own values just to keep someone else comfortable? Do not judge yourself with toxic shame. Evaluate the breach in your wall objectively. Figure out how they got in and reinforce the concrete for tomorrow. 4. The shadow interrogation. When you enforce a boundary and the inevitable wave of guilt hits your chest, do not suppress it. Observe it. Interrogate the shadow. Ask yourself, why do I feel guilty for protecting my own peace? Who taught me that my comfort is less important than theirs? Expose the guilt to the cold light of Stoic logic. You will quickly realize that the guilt is not a moral failing. It is just outdated programming leaving your body. Let it burn off. You only get one life. You have a terrifyingly brief, finite number of heartbeats on this earth. Memento mori. Remember that you must die. Are you truly going to spend the brief, blinding flash of your existence acting as a background character in someone else's movie? Are you going to reach the end of your life completely exhausted, having lived only to fulfill the expectations of a crowd that will forget you a week after your funeral? It is time to wake up. It is time to stop playing the martyr. The crowd will continue to demand your compliance. The emotional vampires will continue to seek out a host. The world will continuously try to shame you back into submission. You cannot change that. But you can change the man who stands before them. You can become the architect. You can pull up the drawbridge, lock the gates of the inner citadel, and ruthlessly, unapologetically choose yourself. You can endure their anger, master your own guilt, and forge a mind of absolute, terrifying independence. This is the path of the true Stoic. It will be lonely. It will be difficult. But it is the only path that leads out of slavery. Step into the quiet. Enforce the boundary. Take control.